Okay, here we go. This robe's kind of big. It catches on stuff as I walk by. Yeah, there we go. About 100 years ago, I got tired of hauling lenses out for these videos. Do I really need to haul them out? I mean, I've already proved like 100 times I own these lenses. Make a video about the best shut up and buy. What does shut up and buy it mean? This is actually a list of, I didn't count them, and I'll put the list below of the lenses that are absolutely unbelievably incredible. Almost all of these, I think all of these except for a couple, are Nikkor lenses. Absolutely incredible lenses for your Nikon camera, and they're incredibly cheap. Almost all of these are autofocus, and also almost all of these are D-series screw drive lenses. Bad news for you Nikon Z owners, that horrible mirrorless camera which has no capability of autofocusing D-series screw drive lenses. These lenses are literally shut up and buy it lenses. I'll give you the price and what they average on eBay. Incredibly cheap. One is the 10.5mm f2.8 Nikkor Fisheye. That lens is also perfect adapted to both Sony and to Fujifilm with a $20 adapter. It is an unbelievable, incredible fisheye lens. Nobody mastered fisheyes or even came close to it. Not Canon, not nobody. Then Nikon. That's a DX crop sensor fisheye. Also, too, amazingly enough, if you actually take a Dremel tool and circumcise the lens hood off, it takes the top pedal and bottom pedal off of the lens, and what you get on the GFX series cameras is a perfectly circular image. Even though it's a DX crop sensor lens, if you use it in FX like that, in FX mode instead of DX crop mode, the top and bottom of the circle are still big time chopped off. But if you use the medium format GFX camera with that lens, it makes really neat images. And they're awesome for like spicy shots for weddings and whatnot. Obviously, people don't want round images, but they make incredible images. You have to know how to use it correctly. But they really are incredible. You stick the lens on the camera, stick it up on the end of a monopod over top of a dance scene at the wedding, or, oh, they're fascinating. That would be great. Of course, that is only circular images on the GFX, but it's perfect adapted. Used, they're really cheap. The lens is just incredible. Here's a lens I don't really talk about much, even though I have a couple copies of it. It's the 50mm f1.8 D-series AF Nikkor. The lens is actually very lightweight, very small, insanely cheap. You can get them all day long for about 70 bucks used on eBay. It's actually an incredible little lens. It's also a low element count lens with incredible micro contrast. Perfect adapted, incredible black and white output. Just shut up and buy it. Now some of these lenses, even though I say all these lenses are shut up and buy, these are lenses in focal lengths you may have absolutely no interest in. So I mean, obviously take the whole shut up and buy it thing with a grain of salt. Here's a lens really everybody should shut up and buy. It's the Swiss Army knife of lenses. It's perfect for everything. 60mm 2.8 D-series autofocus Nikkor. I got like 5 copies of this lens. It's all metal. It's all made in Japan. It's absolutely incredible. It's perfect for reproduction. It's perfect for portraiture on crop sensor. It's a macro lens. It is a short macro. It's perfect for everything. It's literally the Swiss Army knife. In other words, Swiss Army knife does everything. You know what I'm talking about? Corkscrew knife, this and that. It's an incredible lens. You can get them all day long for $200 used on eBay. Most of them are in Japan. Just shut up and buy that lens. Here's a lens that I have 6 copies of. It's that incredible. It's absolutely ungodly. I saw one last night for $240 in like minty condition for sale, shipping out of Japan. And new, they still make the lens, $1,000. It's the 180mm f2.8 a D-series autofocus, also a screw drive lens. That you should see the Flickr page for that lens. You just go to the Flickr page for the 180mm 2.8 D-series, okay, not AIS, but D-series autofocus Nikkor. Unbelievable. My pick for absolute best portrait lens ever is the 105mm f2DC Nikkor. They still make the lens. It's $700 used all day long. It's a defocus control lens. That's the 105 f2DC Nikkor. The lens is built like a tank. It's made in Japan. It's tough. It's the cat's ass, the bee's knees. It is just the epic tatas. It's incredible. Now it is a choice between that and like the 135 f2 DC Nikkor. Basically the same lens, except an 135 millimeter focal length. I have that lens also. Both of them are absolutely incredible. It's a toss-up which one you prefer. Check out the Flickr page for either one. Both of them are incredible. I recommend buying all these lenses used. A few of these are still made. Here's another lens that's been around for ages. It's still made for a reason because it's cheap and it's incredible. And the micro contrast or the image fidelity is off the hook. The 35 millimeter f2 D series autofocus Nikkor. Used, they average about $180 on eBay. I got a couple of them. They're really tiny. They're amazing. So how does that compare to that awesome best lens of yours, the 35mm f2 Zeiss Distagon? Well, it really doesn't. But I mean, that lens is $800 used. This one's like $180 used. That's the 35mm f2 D series autofocus Nikkor. And it's also really small. Here's another lens that's incredible. It is a toss-up between the 85-18 and the 85-14, but the 85-14 D series used is incredible. If you could find one, there's quite a few of them out there. Quite a few. That's the 85mm f1.4 D series Nikkor. Now, you notice that all of these, except for a couple of them, are autofocus lenses. I wanted to stay with autofocus lenses in these recommendations. And someone's going to say, how come you didn't mention so-and-so lenses? These are all about very inexpensive but absolutely incredible, off-the-hook, older screw-drive autofocus Nikkors. So that's the 85mm f1.4D. Here's one that's not a Nikkor. Everybody should buy it and shut the hell up. No questions asked. The 100mm 2.8 Tokina. Just period. Portraiture, macro, everything. Shut up and buy it. Very, very, very cheap. Here we go. 300mm f2.8 Nikkor. And you can either get it in AFD or AIS or AFS. I have all of those versions, by the way. Optically, all of them are 98 out of 100. They're absolutely incredible. The AFD is a slow-ass screw-drive lens, so I wouldn't recommend it for sports or action. Rather the AFS. But for portraiture, it doesn't matter how fast the autofocus is. So it depends on what you want to get that lens for. Portraiture or sports, action, wildlife. One of them, AF speed, is important. The other one is not. Everybody should own a 300mm 2.8. I hate to say that. The AIS version you can get as cheap as $600 used, which is a manual focus lens. Incredible. Here's another 300mm. This is the cheap version. If you want to spend the money for big ass honking 300-2.8, here's the one to get, the 300mm f4 D series autofocus Nikkor. It has a built-in lens hood, it's got a crinkled metal finish, it's all made in Japan, it's the tits, the bee's knees, the cat's ass. It's incredible! You get them all day long for about $340 roughly on eBay. It's a 300mm. Now there's a lot of different versions of 300mm f4 Nikkors. I think there's 9 different versions that have been made. From old to modern. Phase Fresnel, which I also have. I've owned all of them. Still own most of them. It's a 300mm f4 D series autofocus Nikkor. It's a screw drive lens. It's built like a tank. It's incredible. It's crotch melting frigging perfection. Just go to the Flickr page for that lens. Here we go. This one's kind of hard to find. You'll notice that it's only one of 2 zooms I mentioned here. You notice every lens I mentioned here except for 2 are prime lenses. 70-210 f4. Not any other one, but the f4 only. That's a fixed f4. 70-210 f4. It's also a D-series screw drive lens. Next up, the 80-200mm 2.8 AFS or AFD. AFS is a bit better. Of course, it costs more, but the 80-200mm 2.8 Nikkor. Cheap, incredible. Slow autofocus? Yeah, but the lens is amazing. Last, well, actually not last. Actually, I only mentioned 3 zoom lenses here. Next is the 28mm f3.5. It's a perspective control lens, perfect adapted to Sony, perfect adapted to Fujifilm. It's also perfect on any current modern Nikon camera. All PC lenses, even new and old, are manual focus. So that's the 28mm f3.5 perspective control Nikkor. And the very last lens, and this is the only, well no, the 10.5 is also a DX lens. This is the 17 to 55 2.8 Nikkor. This lens has almost no vignetting even used on a full-frame camera, even though it's a DX lens. It's really only one of two lenses that I recommend that are DX lenses. Screw the rest of the DX lenses. Screw them to hell and back. That's the lens that's filming my face in each and every video. I got a couple copies of it. It's amazing. Get it used all day long for $600 roughly. 17 to 55 2.8 AFS Nikkor. It is fast as piss. It's been around forever. It's made of metal, it's made in Japan, it's the tits! It's off the hook, incredible, amazing, shut up and buy it. If you got a Nikon D500 and you don't own this lens, you're a bit of an idiot. It is one of those lenses you should just shut up and buy. 17 to 55 2.8 D-series autofocus Nikkor. It's incredible, it's been around forever. It's like, well, that means it's slow. No, it's an AF series silent wave motor, full true silent wave motor Nikkor. They still make it, and it's very expensive new, but don't buy a new one because it's been around forever. Buy it used for $500. I've seen them quite often for $500. Used Photo Pro, amazing lens, absolutely amazing. So anyway, that is the list for the best. Shut up and buy it. All of these, except for a couple, are autofocus, and almost all of them are screw drive lenses. These are lenses that are literally off the frigging hook. They have autofocus, almost all of them do, and they're insanely cheap. So it's kind of like all these lenses are kind of like getting a slightly used Lamborghini for $20,000, if you know what I mean. Incredible, insanely incredible, and incredibly cheap. Best value autofocus Nikkor lenses. And so one of them is a Tokina lens, but I had to include it here. So thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos, you always click the link below. Drop a buck or two, tell me to jump off a cliff, whatever makes you happy, because I'm trying to save you money. Because there's nothing worse than pissing your money away on crap-ass glass. Because I'm the one that's made all the mistakes. I'm the one that's been sniffing and dry humping these lenses. I'm going to edit that out of this video. I'm going to edit that out. Dry humping these lenses for the past countless decades. Countless. I'm only 46 years old. But, try to save you money so you don't piss it away buying crap. Because you're going to end up like one of those knuckleheads on a photography forum. I bought a Sigma lens. It's really expensive, but you end up buying this expensive crap lens that's going to die in a year or two. Trying to save you from that huge mistake. I never made that mistake because I always knew better. That's just because I've been screwing around with these freaking photography gear lenses since the dawn of time, seems like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. You should, even if you don't like me. It's like, oh, good. I like to know information from somebody to be like the god of lenses, trying to save me a few bucks and keep me from buying crap. Someone should make a meme out of that part where I actually, the blood vessels, the veins pop up my neck, and I start to scream in the microphone. I need to drink some more coffee. Yeah.